everybody. Good morning. Glad you all are here. Day 19, Kate. I was not counting, but it's probably that for us too. Brooklyn. Hi from Sweden, Evelyn. And Angie from Wales. Thank you for joining. Texas. Nan from New York. Christine from Texas. Canada. I'm glad the birds are singing, Christine. Good morning, Kate and Janice. Karen, Beth. Sheila from Santa Fe. I bet it's beautiful there. Let's do a little bit of weaving and then I'll get back to the questions. This is that piece I was working on earlier, maybe early in the week. And I thought I'd get it back out because I'd like to get it finished. I hope y'all are doing some weaving of your own at some point. I did write a newsletter yesterday about having trouble focusing. I think a lot of us are having trouble focusing, and that's okay. Trying to fill in this little hole here. There's a little teardrop right there, and I need to fill in the background to form that. All right, that might work. Getting a lot of shadow on. Well, that's just not going to help. And here, I'm gonna do a little splice. Is that focusing? There it goes. These two colors. If I'm doing a piece with lots more colors than this, I will actually label them and have a little cheat sheet. This background only has 3 different colors in it, and my brain still works well enough to remember what I'm using where, but if I have more than this, I actually do write it down. Sometimes you can't see if you put in the wrong color until you've woven a bunch, and there's nothing worse than having made that mistake and having to take it out. Well, there are worse things, but if you can avoid that mistake, it's nice. So, I'm building up this curve to do another one of these little lines of silk. I think this will help. Probably overly light sensitive. Do you ever have the thing where a bundle plays with your eyes? Like right here, I don't know if you can see that. There's like a little diagonal. There's not a different color in there. This bundle just has a lighter yellow and a darker yellow, and it just happened that the little bundle lined up a bunch of the lighter color in a little diagonal line. Oh, the things that amuse us when we are weaving. Okay, amuse me. Some of you might not be so easily amused. All right, let's see. I'm glad you all are here. Michelle from La La Land. You know, Michelle, I never watched that movie. That must be from California. Wait. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Day 20 of seclusion for Sheila. Hi, Nora from London. Portugal. Hi, Mandy. And Shishi from Boston and Pennsylvania and Vermont. Good morning, everybody. Anna from the UK. Texas. Nancy from Conifer. I like Conifer, Nancy, mostly because I don't actually know anything about it, but when I'm driving south in Colorado, I always stop in Conifer. Grand Junction. Gail, I think all of us are distracted. Many of us are distracted. Some people can really focus when things get weird, but distraction is hard. Gail's from New York City, so you've got it all going on there. Bainbridge Island. Hi, Barbara. Thanks for coming, everyone. Marlene, I'm glad you took a mental wellness day. Let me switch this over. And good morning, all of you. Okay. Sheila, there is a bunch of blog posts about set. She's asking about set. If you go to my blog and search SETT, you'll see a whole bunch of blog posts about matching warp and weft. This particular piece is at 8 ends per inch, and this is a worsted weight yarn, so that's a good place to start with set, is 8 ends per inch with a yarn that's equivalent to a worsted weight knitting yarn, but don't use a knitting yarn unless you don't have anything else, because it's hard to get yarn, and then just use whatever you have. Good morning, everybody. Kathleen took a tapestry diary piece off the loom. Cool. Glad it's looking good, Kathleen. Good morning from Alabama. Hi, Billy. Ruth from Hawaii. What time is it in Hawaii anyway? It must be early. Yeah, Shari was asking about weft bundling. We were talking about that a little bit, about plying at some point. I'm pausing because I'm trying to remember where I just taught a bunch of things about weft bundling, and that was actually in the design class. So keeping 4 yarns twisted and maintaining a flat surface and smooth turns around the warps. It can be a challenge depending on the yarn, and you might use a bobbin, you might not use a bobbin. It's about sort of smoothing the yarns. If you use a bobbin, often they get it's a little harder to keep them even. It depends on the yarn. This is a really fuzzy yarn, and so it acts better than some slicker yarns in terms of keeping everything even. But it's a long answer, Shari. Sorry. Maybe a good thing for a blog post or something. I'm glad that the videos have helped you all. Okay, Lynn, good question. I'm going to get to that question today about the silk, so I will show you that today. Joanne, I probably won't get to cutbacks today. I'll just say on this side of the weaving, there are cutbacks, and that is the same thing as a lazy line, and someone else told me there's another word for it. It's simply a diagonal with the same color. That's all it is. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just that I'm weaving two things together, and I'm meeting, and then I'm moving over a warp, and I'm meeting and coming back, and I'm moving over a warp, and I'm coming back. There's nothing fancy about it. It's just a diagonal. It's used for different reasons, but that's how you make it. Yeah, Mary, I did put my little duck back there. You're welcome, Terry. I'm glad you're here. Hi, Donald from New Mexico. I'm glad some other people are also easily amused. Okay. It's great to see you all. Delanaga is in the house. It is wonderful, Nora. Thank you for saying that. It's nice to have people from all over the world sort of in the same room for a few minutes, and hopefully we can cheer each other up a little bit. So, hi, Connie. Welcome. Glad you made it live. Ruth. Okay, so Ruth is from Hawaii. It is 4 hours earlier in Hawaii, so it is 6:43. You dedicated. Almost as dedicated as those people in New Zealand who were here at 4:30 in the morning. Faith, I do have a video about the double half hitch. It's in the Little Looms class, weaving tapestry on little looms. There may be one in Warp and Weft. I can look for that. If there isn't one in Warp and Weft, I will pop one in there. But Little Looms has all of the header stuff. Weaving tapestry on little looms. Okay. Yay, you got your saffron, Ginny. That was the loom I was weaving on yesterday. If you're interested in more information about the saffron loom, yesterday and the day before, Wednesday and Thursday, I was weaving on that loom. And I talk about it some more. Hi, Donna. Glad you're here. Oh, Deborah. Okay, good question. Why did I say don't weave with a knitting yarn? So this is a basic thing that's important. And there is a blog post if you Google, just Google knitting yarn. I think it'll come up. But knitting yarns are lofty. So think about you're knitting a sweater. You want it to be airy and warm and lofty and stretchy. And you want it to go back to its shape later. So you want it to stretch as you wear it and to go back and take its shape later. Well, think about that in tapestry. If you have a yarn that's super stretchy, it's very unpredictable and it's hard to manage it in the shed to get the same amount of weft in all the time. So knitting yarns are actually hard to use for tapestry, partly because they tend to draw in and do funky things, but also because of that loft, they pack down a lot. And so you lose all the beauty of the yarn because the yarn packs together and becomes really, it loses all its reflective quality. And even if the knitting yarn is gorgeous, it might in the tapestry look kind of dull. So knitting yarns are hard for those reasons. You want a more tightly spun yarn, a worsted spun yarn, or something that is not very stretchy. Ah, yeah, Audrey, I had that problem. So I'll answer this question because you can actually see it down here. Let me flip my screen. So Audrey asked, she said she's weaving a tapestry with Weaver's Bazaar that's fairly large, and some areas she's weaving eccentrically. Oh, this was not what happened down here. The warp has started to have some ripples in it. Will this become a problem? It will. The thing, here, let me move this. The thing I was going to say about this tapestry, which I have not talked about yet when I brought this tapestry out, is that you might be able to see there's some gentle waves down here in the fabric. That is because I was putting in too much weft as I was weaving. So when I put in too much weft, there is more fabric created, and because of the warp tension, it creates ripples in the fabric that go in and out. So if you ever see that, you're probably putting in too much weft, and it is creating more fabric there than you need. And when you take that off the loom, it will spread out. Steaming can help some. If you're using wool or cotton, it will shrink it a little bit. But what Audrey's talking about is she's doing eccentric weaving. So this is, or eccentric weaving, depending on who you are. These little lines I did eccentrically. So I will get up to one here and put another one in. But I only do the eccentric weaving for a short distance. If you continue to do it, the weft will pull the warps out of alignment, and it will cause bubbles and irregularities in the surface. And that will always happen, and it is not something that you can fix. If you want to weave that way, you have to embrace the fact that your tapestry will not be flat. Unless you're doing something like wedge weave, which is completely an eccentric. I'm just going to say it the way I say it, eccentric. Just is an eccentric technique, wedge weave, where you're weaving at a diagonal. So you're weaving not perpendicular to the warp all the way across, but you're balancing it and then weaving it back. So wedge weave can be very flat. It's just that the edges will be scalloped because the warp is pulled out of alignment. Oh, right. Thanks, Janet. Beulah's in the foothills of western Pueblo County. That's why I remember it. I have friends who live in Pueblo. And so, yes, Beulah is up in that beautiful the wet mountains, maybe? Very cool. Oh, Betty, I'm sorry about your wrist. Hopefully, if it's not a bad break, hopefully the weaving actually helps a little bit. And you're a month in, so I hope you heal up well. Patricia, I agree with you. Patricia said she's getting a little crankier the longer this goes on, and I'm with you. I just feel some days like I feel like a horrible person some days. I just am like, why am I so irritable? Because I didn't really go anywhere to start with. I mean, I work at home, but it's tough being told you can't leave, I think, is part of the problem. And also it's really stressful. There's a lot of hard things going on. So let's try to do all the things to keep ourselves feeling good. All right. Dorothy's asking about hand spinning. That's a great and fun thing, Dorothy. I have a couple blog posts about hand spinning. She's asking about sheep braids. I like longer staple. I actually use a lot of Corriedale because there are Corriedale sheep around here that people grow them for spinning fleeces, so they coat them, and the fleeces are beautiful. But I've also used Lincoln, and any of those longer staple, luster, long wool kinds of things are great. You can spin almost anything so that it works well for tapestry. You just need more of a worsted spin. But look on the blog for hand spun, and I think you'll find more stuff. And I did an article for Spin-Off it's been a while now, 2015, 2016, 2017. I'm not even sure. If you have old issues of Spin-Off, I did an article in there. Actually, they put it online again sometime in the last year. So you might be able to just Google it and it would come up like the whole article. Okay, Kate has some words for Emily, who is my spouse, about the way I say eccentric. And so eccentric weaving is how I always say it. I've said it in all the videos if you've taken my classes, and that is what this is. You can see the little inset. The weaving that goes against the, it's not perpendicular to the warp. So my teacher always said eccentric, and so I worked in his studio for years, and eccentric was what I got in my head. And so the word is eccentric. It is true. I don't think eccentric is at all how you say it, and so I apologize to all of you who are irritated by that, including my spouse. Welcome, Colin. I'm glad you made it. Back to your tapestry weaving. Oh, good. Missy's doing wedge weave right now. So if you're on Instagram, look at the Change the Shed hashtag, and if you want to see an example of someone who's doing wedge weave right now, she is. Ooh, Wendy, I don't know. She's talking about spinning handmade paper, but if you haven't looked at Sarah Sweat's blog over the last 6 months, go there. She's spinning paper all the time and weaving it for tapestry, and you could ask her questions. She might be able to give you a better... she's asking about drop spindle size. I think Sarah's using a Hefty that is made on a 3D printer because some of it is wet. She's spinning some of it wet spun like she does linen. Anyway, ask Sarah Sweat. She's far better one to ask about that than me. See, Emily, that was enough to get Emily to pop on, Kate. So I don't know what, yesterday I was not thinking well, and we've been talking about shed sticks a little bit. You guys have seen me use this shed stick. Let me change these around. I apologize for shifting the cameras all the time. I'm trying to keep my face in the photo as much as I would rather not. For people who can't hear me, they might be able to tell what I'm saying from seeing my face. So this is the shed stick I've been using. It's a little Jim Hockett shed stick. There are, Sharon reminded me, and I forgot to say yesterday, that the place I was trying to remember a few days ago is the Weaver's Loft. So if you Google the Weaver's Loft, they actually have a few Hockett things left. I don't know if they have any shed sticks, but that is one potential place. And Barbara at the Weaver's Loft is great. But this is a shed stick that I'm sure you can, fairly sure you can get. Melissa Ellison Dewey is the one who makes these bobbins. And if you find her on Facebook or at Bobbin Boy, ask her about this shed stick. Lots of people have now tried. It's slightly curved. Lots of people have tried this shed stick and really like it. So it's nice and thin and pointy. So that was an option that for some reason my brain wasn't working well enough to come up with that yet the other day. Ooh, see, Sarah says she's experimenting every day with spinning paper for tapestry and cutting some right now. So if you had this question about the spinning paper, go look at Sarah's blog. She has lots of stuff about that, and she will keep posting, I'm quite sure. All right. So this particular... see if I can move this out of the way. Sorry to keep moving my face around, y'all. So this piece has been a lot of fun to work on here and there. I haven't done that much since you saw it last, but let me see if I can get up and show you up to this part to show you this eccentric weaving. I actually wanted it to go behind here. So in the last shed, I didn't quite catch that. So I just pulled it forward instead of shifting the shed again. I'm doing a little bit of hatching here to hatch these colors together. It looks like I haven't done a fantastic job of mixing those. And now I'm going to need a new piece of this. If you're in the UK, look at the comments. Anna has, she's working on some shed sticks in the UK. That sounds really beautiful, Christine. Lovely. Tools are important, aren't they? There's something really tactile about having a nice tool. Like this shed stick is my favorite, and I stopped bringing it when I teach because I'm so afraid I'm going to lose it. I do tend to lose things now and then, and I don't want to lose that. That's a funny question. It's true, yes. Yes, so Dee asked, do you ever wear down your nails or even lose your fingerprints? My nails don't seem to be a problem, but so I've been weaving now for a long time, but I used to, and doing a lot of other fiber kind of things with my hands. I used to work as an occupational therapist in healthcare, and every time, if you work especially in nursing homes, but also with young children in home health, you have to get fingerprinted. And so I've been fingerprinted a lot. And let's see. I can't tell you how many police officers comment on my lack of having fingerprints. Even when I was in my early 30s, I would get suspicious looks from some of the officers who are like, I don't understand why you're so young and you don't have any fingerprints. Well, I understand. It's from weaving. So, I mean, I do have fingerprints. They're just not as prominent as they might be for someone else. Losing your fingerprints. That could be like the title of a piece, right? I'm going to have to drop out this white color, which is going to mean that I may have a shedding problem. We'll find out. So just so in case I forget to say this later, I won't be here tomorrow or Sunday. I will be back on Monday. So you can watch the replays you missed tomorrow and Sunday if you have to. Almost ready for the eccentric weaving. Oh, Weaving Rainbow also has some shed sticks, you all. They always have lots of adorable little looms, so there's lots of small woodworkers out there making really lovely things. So most of them are really small businesses, and they're really fun to support they support our loom habits. And a lot of those tools are really gorgeous, so look for them. Okay, we are... Oh, Tony, something you didn't know about me. She said, why do I have my fingerprints taken soften? Back when I worked in healthcare, I had lots of jobs. I worked rurally. I was trying to work part-time, so I would work health, home health at one place. I was doing home health with the elderly and home health with infants at the same time through different companies. And both companies, of course, want fingerprints. And then if you work in the public schools and all of those. So every new job I got, I had to be fingerprinted. So I don't know how many times I was fingerprinted over the course of 10 years. Jennifer, today will get better. I'm just saying that. It sounds like it's been a rough morning. Days like that, I just have to take a deep breath. Okay, so now let's look at the shed here. And let's see, let's see if this will focus if I bring it in a little bit more. Okay, I'm gonna just check the shed, and that's all ready to be woven. So all of this is ready to go. All of that is ready to go, and this is in the wrong shed, and I want to bring this over to about right there. So because I have this butterfly right here, that's really nice. I can just run this down. This is an eccentric weft pick here. I'm using this instead of a crepeau that I was talking about a few days ago, a crepeau, to shift the shed. So now if I go back here, everything is in the correct shed. And I can do my little, let's see, I'm just going to bring these behind. And I want to show you this. This is the thing, someone who I've now forgotten the name of who asked it, why I put the two wefts in the same shed when I was doing the silk. This is what I was doing. This is eccentric weaving, where because it's not going perpendicular, usually we weave so that the weft is perpendicular to the warp, and in this case it is not, it's off perpendicular, so it's eccentric. Y'all have made me completely self-conscious about that now. I'll get over it though. And then I just need some silk. What color should I use? How about back to one of these oranges? Let's do some orange. Yes, Patricia, this crepod is an excellent trick. Let's make sure. So is this split weft thing I'm going to do. This is one of my favorite things, and I thought it was a really mainstream technique, but apparently it's not. It will be now. So because my silk I'm using is so thin, I talked about this earlier, that this is 62 silk and I'm only using 3 strands, which makes it a very thin weft bundle. But because it is so thin, I can do this split weft with the whole bundle. Otherwise, I would be putting just a couple pieces of my weft bundle in here. So I did the first pick in the color that I was weaving with, and then one pick in the new color, and it's in the same shed. And this is called a split weft. You can see there it's in the same shed. Split weft outline, and I show this a lot in the warp and weft class. And I'm gonna weave this eccentrically. Trying here, I've got, that's weird, that has a little thing stuck in it. Okay, so I have to pull in more weft. I beat differently when I'm weaving eccentrically because I'm trying to make sure there's enough weft in there. That's too much because it's bubbling on me right there where my thumb is. So I'm going to pull some out. Michelle wants me to go back to saying eccentric. Well, you'll always know it's me. So Jocelyn, the reason I put this row of the background color in before the color is because I want that split weft. The purpose of the split weft being I'm splitting those little rice-shaped things that Tapestry makes, and I'm making the line super smooth. And you might not really be able to see this very well, but these are all done with that split weft, and the lines are very smooth. Instead of Tapestry's usually wavy like this, these are smooth because I use that split weft. See, Patricia's with me too. As long as I use the word eccentric in other parts of my life the real way, isn't it okay to say eccentric? Happy birthday, Jennifer. See, happy birthday. It's going to be a better day. It's okay. It's your birthday. Crapeau. Okay, Ellen, I'll buy that. I am not French, but I should use, you know how Google Translate or whatever, if you get on Google and put in a word from another language, it'll tell you how to say it. I need to practice that one. Okay, so I've done 2 sequences, which is what I have been doing for each of these. So look at, this looks way fatter than this, but it will pack in, and this will be the same size as that. And I know that because I put the same number of sequences in. That's how I managed to get the lines all the same width, is by counting. Okay. Last thing here. I'm going to put that to the back, and then because again this is so thin, if this weft were thicker I would have shifted the shed there, but I'm just going to use this as the other half of the eccentric weft, and so I'm putting this in the same shed. Same reason. Splitting the 2 colors in the shed in half will make that a very straight line. This will need a pigtail because it's coming out the front. I need it to go to the back. And then I will start filling in. I will go back and fix this. This is not how I will leave it, but then I would start filling in like this. So I'm going back to weaving perpendicular to the warp. Because I want it to go back so I'm not pulling those wefts out of alignment like you do on purpose in wedge weave. I want to go back as I fill it in and weave perpendicular to the thing until I get up to the next curve, and then I will build it up again like I did on this one. All right, everybody. This piece is coming along. Didn't obviously make it into renditions, but it's all right. Okay, so, oh, Mary, yeah, eccentric weaving just means that the weft is moving off of perpendicular to the warp. So this square orientation, anytime the weft changes away from that square orientation, it's eccentric or eccentric. Dorothy, you might be right. That's funny. So I do have more than one OT here, and Dorothy says that we did, now that you say that, Dorothy, I think you're right. We did learn to say eccentric muscle contractions in OT. It could be that. I've been blaming it on James Kohler all this time, but it could actually, and I don't remember, it could actually be that I say that because of OT. It is true. Thanks, Dorothy. Yeah, anyone else who studied with James Kohler, let me know, because I'd love to know whether he said it that way or not. And I now have no evidence of whether that's true or if I just made it up in my head. So the little teardrop, Donna asked, I will fix this mess here when I'm not on camera. But the little teardrop at the end of this, I will put in next, actually, before I go back and fill this in. There's a little tiny, let's see if you can see this on the little screen there, a little tiny drop of something, sweat maybe, which is going to go in, oh, actually right here. So this, I'll have to redo this line too, because this line is supposed to come down a little farther. And then the teardrop goes in right here. So I will right now put in the little silk that fills in that little tiny shape, and then do the eccentric line over the whole thing and then fill it in. Had I been forward thinking a little more today, I probably would have put that teardrop in before I got online. Potato, true. Mary thought my pronunciation was a special term. Yeah. Oh, Dorothy, you're a physiatrist. Yes. I think you're probably right that came from OT school. Oh, Lane. So Lane is asking about this thing right behind me. So that is my Leclerc tapestry loom. It's an upright tapestry loom. It is actually the only high warp tapestry loom that I know of right this moment that's this big that is still being manufactured. Leclerc in Canada still makes this loom. Most of the other ones are, as far as I know, not actively being manufactured, unfortunately. This was my grandmother's tapestry loom. And you can, hold on, it's all backwards. You can see there we go. These are samples, which whatever, I guess I'm storing them there for the moment. And then these are braids, spinning braids, which I put there in the hopes that I will sit down and spin them. The bar that they're hanging on is actually the leash bar. So I don't have the treadles for this loom. My grandmother never bought them. So I have the plain version with just the leash bar, and you make thread leashes to pull the back shed through. One of these days, I will, if this thing goes on long enough, I will put a piece on that loom and show it to you, because it's kind of fun to see weaving on that. Oh, Barbara, a photo of the piece I sent off. Yes. You know what? I'll put it on my table. I'll show you on Monday. I even know where it is. I will show you what I sent to the renditions show. Jessica, Anna has a question for you in the chat from Jessica from Weaving Rainbow. Oh, Mandy, what do I make on this big, on this big loom? Honestly, I've only ever woven a couple pieces on it, because the loom I really use, you can't see, is behind me over here, is the Harrisville rug loom. And I don't know, there, it's behind the camera. There's, I weave on that Harrisville rug loom the most because I like the horizontal surface. So all my big tapestries were woven on this Harrisville rug loom. But I have a couple ideas for the Leclerc that I'd like to use. So yeah, Jessica, go ahead and put your website in. That's helpful. Karen, great. You got a free Go Blonde tapestry loom. The tension on this, God, sorry. On that tapestry loom, the camera is flipped. I'm really not crazy. Just looks like I am. Now I lost what I was going to say. Oh, the tension on this loom is fantastic. You can do the same thing as this with a pipe loom made out of black pipe or scaffolding pipes, and adding tension to that. So it's not that you have to buy a loom that takes up as much room as this one does. Also, black pipe loom is probably cheaper. I did finally get my cord for the camera, thanks to, I think I got it from B&H Photo. They're great. Okay, you all. So thank you for coming today. Happy Friday. I hope that you have a good weekend, and that if you are feeling like it's hard to buckle down and create something, if you feel like working with yarn, I'm serious, just put a warp on a little loom and weave stripes. Just weave stripes for a while. Maybe do yarn wraps and look at, color interactions, or pull out all the yarn you have and look at how the colors interact and put together two colors that you think don't go together and weave stripes with them and see what you think. Something like that. Just do something easy, because this is a tough time and it's hard to come up with designs and figure out really what you want to do and to be creative. And so it's to your benefit to keep making things, but just make it simple and go easy on yourself. Jessica says, do I like the black pipe galvanized pipe better than copper pipe? Not necessarily, Jessica. It's just that copper pipe is soft. So for smaller looms, copper is easy to cut. It's really easy to make a loom out of copper. But the black pipe, I'm talking about making a really big loom, like the size of this, where you need, like 2-inch or bigger pipe. So you need a really big pipe to make a loom that's this big, and copper would be far too soft. So that's the distinction, is that copper is great for smaller things. I do like the galvanized or black pipe looms that you can screw together and put on the table. Those are fun and easy to make too. I don't have a preference of that over copper at all. I will do some hiking, Janice. Thank you. I think it's going to be warmer in Colorado this weekend. It is snowing yesterday and today. So thanks for coming. Weave every darn day. Let's remember Tommy's thing. Weave every darn day. Just if it makes you feel good, I'm serious, weave stripes or something easy, or weave a block of one color and then embroider on it, or just play around with whatever you have. I'm glad y'all are enjoying the broadcast. I will be back on Monday, and I do have some projects to do. I'm not going to promise that this piece will be finished anytime soon, but it will come back, and I don't know what I'll bring on Monday. It'll be a surprise. Enjoy your weekend, everybody, and I think you're all fantastic. Thanks for sharing time with me, and I will see you on the flip side of the weekend. Bye, everybody.